In Ukraine, drones aren't winning because they kill tanks. They're winning because they kill something far more important: mobility. In modern warfare, whoever controls the skies with unmanned aerial vehicles dominates the battlefield.
For generations, the holy grail of military strategy was the absolute domination of space and time through physical velocity. The Soviet Union built an armored doctrine around massive, deeply penetrating mechanized waves designed to exploit breakthroughs before a defender could react. To counter this, the United States developed the air-land battle doctrine, utilizing overwhelming, precise firepower to disrupt these speeding echelons before they consolidated. Both superpowers operated under the fundamental 20th century assumption that the fog of war would always protect a fast-moving army. Speed was not just an offensive tool, it was the primary mechanism used to outrun enemy coordination and survive on a chaotic battlefield. This reliance on velocity created a military-industrial complex obsessed with heavier armor, faster engines, and deeper strategic thrusts. Commanders believed that as long as their mechanized columns kept moving, enemy artillery and command structures could never lock onto their positions in time. The ultimate fear was always a disruption in momentum, because a stalled column immediately became a vulnerable target. Yet this entire philosophical framework depended heavily on a single, fragile variable: operational uncertainty. If an adversary could not see where the main blow was falling, speed allowed the attacker to dictate the terms of the engagement completely. The proliferation of modern unmanned systems has shattered this historical paradigm, not by inventing new ways to destroy vehicles, but by permanently lifting the fog of war. Drones, when coupled with commercial satellite constellations and real-time data networks, have turned the modern battlefield completely transparent. Massive armored columns can no longer rely on the vastness of the terrain to hide their approaches or conceal their strategic intentions. The moment a tank engine starts or a mechanized unit begins to mass, digital sensors pick up the signature and broadcast it instantly across the network. Consequently, the greatest tactical vulnerability in modern warfare is no longer a lack of armor, but the sudden loss of operational anonymity. This absolute transparency has effectively restricted the zone of safe movement, creating highly lethal kill zones stretching miles from the front line. When everything can be seen, speed loses its defensive value because an automated network can calculate intercept trajectories faster than any vehicle can travel. Main battle tanks do not suffer mobility kills simply because cheap drones are deadly, but because they can no longer find a single moment of invisibility. The traditional concept of the lightning strike has been replaced by a transparent grid where any concentrated force is targeted within minutes of detection. Armies are learning the hard lesson that moving fast means absolutely nothing if the enemy watches every single meter of your advance. Because the sky has transformed into a continuous sensory network, the core prerequisite for launching any successful offensive has fundamentally shifted. True military mobility in the 21st century is completely impossible without establishing absolute localized air superiority over the drone layer. An attacking force can no longer simply rely on traditional fighter jets to clear the high altitudes while ignoring the low-altitude airspace. If a commander cannot blind the enemy's micro-reconnaissance assets, any attempt to advance will result in immediate, coordinated destruction. Therefore, securing a clean, drone-free airspace has become the primary bottleneck that dictates whether an army can move or must freeze. Achieving this specific form of airspace control requires a complex, multi-layered defensive dome that blends kinetic interception with heavy electronic warfare. Armies must deploy dense jamming fields to sever the data links between hostile drone operators and their autonomous platforms. Simultaneously, short-range directed energy weapons and tactical lasers must systematically burn down any sensor that evades the electronic suppression. This means that an armored assault is no longer led by tanks, but by mobile electronic warfare platforms that create a temporary shield of invisibility. If this electromagnetic and physical umbrella fails for even a few minutes, the entire mechanized wave is instantly pinned down and neutralized by the waiting drone swarm. To fully understand this tactical deadlock, defense analysts must look past the popular myth of the cheap, standalone $500 drone. While an individual quadcopter is remarkably inexpensive, the comprehensive system required to sustain a combat-effective drone layer is immensely complex and costly. It demands a continuous logistical pipeline of high-bandwidth repeaters, secure satellite terminals, and highly specialized pilot training programs. Furthermore, as electronic jamming intensifies, these cheap commercial systems are rapidly forced to evolve into unjammable, fiber optic, or AI-guided variants. The true strategic advantage does not come from a single low-cost weapon, but from an industrial base capable of absorbing massive technological attrition. This reality transforms modern warfare into a brutal industrial competition centered around software iteration and raw component scalability. Pushing thousands of expendable systems into a contested airspace requires a secure supply chain that can manufacture and modify hardware at a blistering pace. Pace-setting militaries treat drones not as precious combat platforms, but as standard ammunition to be expended by the hundreds of thousands every single month. The side that wins the electronic struggle is simply the one that can outproduce the enemy's capacity to jam or shoot down these assets. It is a war of informatics where industrial depth and supply chain resilience matter far more than tactical ingenuity on the front line. Ultimately, the emergence of the drone ecosystem has not brought about the literal death of mobility, but rather a profound evolution in its definition. For over a century, military power was measured by how quickly a nation could move massive amounts of steel across physical geography. In the age of total transparency, victory belongs to the force that can remain unseen and unquantifiable the longest while maintaining its lethality. The old doctrine of concentrating massive firepower at a single breakthrough point has been forced to fracture into small, decentralized, and highly disciplined units. Survival requires a masterful management of electronic signatures, advanced camouflage, and a constant shifting of positions under the cover of darkness. The traditional main battle tank will likely survive this transition, but its role must be completely redefined within this new informatics-driven framework. Vehicles must evolve from aggressive instruments of pure kinetic breakthrough into heavily shielded, stealth-conscious nodes operating within a wider digital network. Speed is no longer the ultimate shield. Obscurity is the new currency of survival on the modern battlefield. The strategic balance will no longer favor the fastest or the heaviest army, but the one that is most transparent to itself and most opaque to the enemy. Modern commanders must learn to master this digital shadows game, or accept that their proudest armored divisions will become nothing more than monuments to a bygone era of warfare.